Hey everyone, we are back. How's everyone doing? Wait for people to sidle in here if they like. Once more, have some Earl Grey tea at the ready. Again, too hot, so I'll wait a bit. So, plan for today, probably just gonna go over a couple of articles. One in particular, I had set out with the intention of today, but my friend sent me another interesting one. That'll be a surprise for later if we get there. I do also need to knock off a little bit early. I have some plans tomorrow, which means I gotta. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean, but in this case, it means I want to make some iced tea to bring over to the friend's place to which I'm going. So it's gonna take a little bit of time. So it might, we'll just go through these articles. It takes as long as it takes, and then we'll move on. That said, the first article we have that I wanted to go over, I saw like right after I ended stream yesterday, and it seems important to go over. Apparently, a former FBI general counsel says he thinks that Trump admitted to crimes during the speech that we went over, the one from that he gave on Tuesday in New Jersey. So obviously, I'm not a legal expert of any in any degree, and it seems like this general counsel is maybe not super sure, maybe not confident. There's a lot of like mays and possibilities, but we'll go over it. Like we'll read the article and maybe we'll come to some conclusions. But it seems like some of what he said might have given the game away. And this is what I mean about like don't why like, his lawyers are were probably insistent that he keep to the script because he just has a tendency of running his mouth and saying things that admit to crimes as the indictment actually makes clear. Man, again, I really wish I had gone over that but, on stream. But some of the stuff is like he's saying, "Oh yeah, this is top secret. You're not really allowed to look at it." But like here it is. So, without further ado, I suppose let's get to the article. Let's see what it has to say. Already pulled it up. Look at me, professional streamer. I'm like always, I'm already ready. I'm ahead of the game, unlike the normal shit where I'm flying by the seat of my pants. But all right, so former FBI general counsel says Trump admitted to a crime during Tuesday night speech. That is an admission to that charge. You'll notice a difference normally when I go over articles on stream. I'm reading them very quickly. It's because I want to get back to what we're going through. But this is what we're going through, so I'll try to be clearer. MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman said former President Donald Trump admitted to one of the federal charges he is facing just hours after being arraigned. On Tuesday, Trump pleaded not guilty to 37 counts stemming from his retention of government documents after he left office. The Department of Justice says some of those documents were declassified and repeatedly obstructed the government's efforts to retrieve them. So far it's just context, right? Like just we know this stuff. But they got to set the groundwork. Hours later, Trump delivered a speech from his golf resort in Bedminster, New Jersey, where he claimed he had every right. I wonder if this is this just a link to the video? Oh, okay, it's just another article. I was like, what the hell could this claimed link? He claimed he had, quote, every right under the Presidential Records Act, end quote, to take the documents. He also said he was not aware of everything that was in the boxes of materials he took because he did not have enough time to sort through them. This is pretty relevant. Yeah, it's like, how do you know you're allowed to if you don't know what's in them? Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I missed that when we went over it. Appearing on The Last Word, Weissman, a former U.S. attorney and former FBI general counsel, who later joined special counsel Robert Mueller's team investigating Trump, said the former president admitted to a crime. Quote, that was written in the teleprompter, end quote, host Lawrence O'Donnell said about Trump's speech. Quote, his lawyers probably knew he was going to be saying this. Tonight, he didn't just, wing it. That was a considered choice, end quote. That's interesting. Okay, I assumed that this would have been from some of the off the cuff stuff, but if it's teleprompter stuff, this is that's wild. If this is an admission, if that is actually what ended up happening, it is pretty nuts that nobody stopped him. Like that it was in the teleprompter. His speechwriter thought it was cool. Maybe his lawyers didn't go over it, but I mean, I feel like they really ought to be going over any public statement to make sure. But maybe they missed that. That's nuts. All right. Weissman said Trump's speech amounted to a confession. Quote, so one thing's important for everyone to know is those statements that you just played are admissible as admissions, regardless of whether Donald Trump takes the stand or not. Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? It's just like, this is evidence. He's, speaking publicly as to saying this. I mean, I know there's like some hiccups as far as hearsay. As I understand it, hearsay is out of court statements that are relevant due to the truth of the matter asserted, basically saying like, oh, this is relevant because it's what he said is true. But I also know that there are a million exceptions to the hearsay rules, so I'm not going to pretend like I know where the lines are and whether that would be admissible. But according to Weissman, who knows significantly more than I do, leagues in leagues more than I do, it seems like it would be admissible. Quote, uh, those are admissions. So, that is, part of what he said is just a straight out confession. It's not a defense, it's a confession. Weirdly, I've already noticed that I've already noticed Trump supporters saying things like, "Oh, that speech was very, very good," and like it should exonerate him and like get him elected and all this stuff, but like literally confessing to crimes. I don't understand. Literally, he's confessing to doing the crimes, apparently. He went on to explain that if the case goes to trial, the judge will not give the jury instructions on the Presidential Records Act because it is a civil law, whereas Trump is facing criminal charges. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's interesting. I would have assumed that. Oh, okay. Maybe the defense can can discuss it and like enter it in. I don't know if they can or not. I guess it's just the judge isn't going to let them know what's going on with it. It's just the judge in a case will often be like, okay, this is what the crime is that we're discussing, and this is how it works. And things like just make sure that the jury understands what's going on, but they're not going to be given instructions on the Presidential Records Act. Uh, so maybe the defense will bring it up. We'll see. Quote, the quote, I didn't know what was in the boxes, end quote, is disproved by his own voice on tape where he talks about two of the documents, end quote. Uh, what, maybe, okay, so you said he didn't, sorry, the nested quotes threw me. All right, I didn't know what was in the boxes, disproved by his own voice on tape where he talks about two of the documents. Why is that a maybe he didn't know what was in some of them. Or maybe this is saying like, oh, okay, he did know what was in the boxes. Maybe not all of them, I guess. Weissman added, referring to the DOJ's claim that it has audio of Trump bragging that he has classified material that he cannot declassify because he is no longer president. Again, this is another thing that was in the indictment of like he was aware that he was no longer president. They were still classified. He did not declassify them, and he could no longer declassify them. So he knew he wasn't allowed to have these things. What is this audio here? Oh my God. Go away. Continue. So, okay, I was hoping this would just have the audio. But, yeah, this was also in the indictment papers, which, again, I've linked in a previous video. You should take a look at them. Quote, let's jump back to your point one, quote, end quote, O'Donnell said. Quote, what specifically was the confession, end quote. Quote, I wish we could just, like, watch the thing. If they're just going to quote the entire thing. And this is all they have to say about it. Maybe we'll find more about it. Quote, so he said, quote, I could take these, end quote. Weissman replied, quote, when you are charged with illegal retention, the illegal possession of the documents, is not a good idea to say, hey, you want to know why I took these? Because I could. That is not a defense of the charge. That is an admission to the charge. Watch above via MSNBC. Maybe we will. That would be good. Where would I do that? So that's really, really interesting. It seems that according to Weissman, and I guess it remains to be seen whether that will be that'll be the case. But it seems like Trump keeps confessing to these crimes. It's so weird. If that's true, um, let's see if we can find the video. Um, yeah, it's so weird that that like no one stopped him from saying all this stuff. But I guess he's constantly incriminating himself. So what's the difference? Okay, well, it seems like this guy's getting nonstop interviews. So yeah, I guess that interview was pretty short, or that article was pretty short. But the point is that it seems that Trump has admitted, inadvertently or otherwise, that he did the thing he's being accused of. Let's see if we can find another. Is this? Oh, is this possibly the video? Why is this not playing? Is it because of the ad block? It is the ad block. Okay.
When you're
All right.
talking about.
Let's see. Let's see if
So the
this
word
provides any more.
defense needs to be in air quotes when you're talking about that. So one thing that's important for everyone to know is those statements that you just played are admissible as admissions, regardless of whether Donald Trump takes a stand or not. Those are admissions. So that is part of what he said is just a straight out confession. It's not a defense, it's a confession.
One thing I wonder about for something like this is when you have a situation like this where, I mean, imagine you're the lawyer, right? Your client has said something that, is being construed, well, maybe will be construed as an admission to the crime he's being accused of. I wonder if they'll try to say something like, "Well, he was lying," that's what he was saying wasn't true. So, so it's not a confession. But then of course, the thing he was saying was intended to be a defense. So now they have to figure out like how it could be. And it seems pretty, yeah, like, I mean, maybe I mean, he was lying about a lot of stuff. Maybe he was lying about not knowing what was in the boxes or whatever else. But uh like at a certain point, well, you're if your only defense is a lie, then right, all the accusations that you knew what you were doing, all the evidence that is there, you'd have to basically argue that literally everything he says ever is a lie, which, given his history, is not the least reasonable assertion. But obviously that doesn't like hold up to the fact that, well, you still had all these classified documents you were supposed to give back, and it's clear that you knew what they were. Uh, is there really not anything else that's going to come about from these articles? I was really hoping there'd be more here, but it seems that it's just here are the three sentences this one guy said about it, and that's all we got. So, unfortunately, that there's not more there. I don't want to go for too little a time. But now on to the next article, which a friend of mine sent, not to me specifically, just in a group that we're both in. He just like thought this link was interesting, and I will be honest, uh, the headline is baiting me a little bit. So maybe we'll go over this, and then if we don't find anything more, maybe we'll like watch something. Uh, I oh no, stop with this. Okay, we all right, we're just hold on. All right, and nope, need that. This one. No, come on. Oh, is it? Did I hide the wrong one? If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna do the thing as they intended. Oh no, it was hidden. Uh, all right. Well, that didn't help. Okay, we'll just turn off the ad blocker. Oh, all right, yeah. Really annoying. Okay, so a white supremacist took MDMA for a study. Go away, please. What? Okay. For a study, and it snapped him out of his beliefs. Why am I doing this? This was very interesting to me. I hope this article will go over what MDMA is and what it does, especially because it's likely to have a better explanation than what I have. But we'll go over it because that is very interesting, depending on the results of the study. So this is just from today. Ooh, up to date. All right. I don't want yeah, don't give me the bullet points. Let's read the whole thing. A leader in the U.S. white nationalist movement realized he wanted to change his extreme beliefs after he took the psychoactive drug MDMA as part of as part of a scientific study. The man, who is referred to by his first name, Brendan, who was enrolled in an MDMA study in February 2020, which investigated whether the drug could increase the pleasantness of human touch, according to the adaptation of the book I Feel Love, MDMA, and the Quest for Connection in a Fractured World by Rachel Newer, published by the BBC. Okay, so I'm going to pause here because it's not going over what MDMA is and does. I'm gonna do a quick wiki look because I know a little bit about it, but not tons. So, um, as I understand the way it works is that in your brain you got all these like. Hold on, you know what? It's time. We haven't done it yet. Uh, Patrick Sims. Still no evidence Trump committed the crime. Well, I mean, if you believe that, you can just go look in the indictments. There's lots of evidence actually, uh, including, but not limited to, Trump's admission that he did it, or at the very least, he's on record as saying like, "Oh, these are classified documents, and I have them, and I'm not supposed to have them, but look, here they are." That's all laid out in the indictment. I'm sure that if you're posting something like this, you are disinterested in looking into it, but I recommend looking into the indictment. I've leaked them previously, and if you want, I can put it in the chat if you actually want to look at it and don't want to find it. Uh, that said, as I understand, because we're talking about this MDMA study now, as I understand, we're going to do a paint stream. Everyone get excited. As I understand, here's here's your brain. It's all pink and wrinkly. It's great. And inside, you got all these like, actually, we should do like a circle. Got all these little cells, obviously not to scale. And like, and some of how part of what the brain does is that when you like have these feelings or whatever, what will happen is like this uh one one some cells or other will emit these like these like little hormones. They might like serotonin in your brain. That's another one. That's one of them. And then the other some other cells with receptors will start to like scoop them up. And in that meantime, while they're like floating around in your brain, that's when you feel things. That's my understanding. One of the things DMA does is it forces a release of a huge amount of like happy chemicals into your brain, and either I'm not sure if it blocks receptors or if it just takes long enough for the receptors to like scoop all of it up, as it were. The In that time, you have this huge wave of like happy feeling, and it leads to a lot of feelings of euphoria. That's mostly what I wanted to like make sure there's that understanding of like what we're talking about here. It's the main active chemical in the illegal drug ecstasy. I believe MDMA is also illegal in itself. Uh, this is the first time a sitting president's DOJ has indicted his chief political rival for an upcoming election for a crime he too committed. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff baked into that Patrick's time. Um, if if Biden also committed it, then like, all right, have him charged too. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Also, the fact that he's a chief political rival has nothing to do with whether he committed the crime, which he seems to have. I just like to note that your first claim was that there's no evidence, and then as soon as you get as soon as you hear, oh no, there's actually tons of evidence, you change the subject. I just want you to know that you're doing that. Maybe you can reflect on that a little bit. Because the fact of the matter is, no, there is a lot of evidence, and it would not matter if Biden did the exact same thing. That said, as far as I understand, he didn't. A lot of the claims of that are lies, but even if he did, good, charge him too. These are the actions of a banana republic. Oh, okay, so you don't know what words mean either. All right, cool. Well, have fun in chat. Enjoy shitposting. We're gonna go back to this article. All right. So now that we know a little bit of what MDMA is, like a very lay understanding of that, you can like oh yeah, here I went to the Wikipedia for the effects, so we skipped that. You get a sense of euphoria, increased self-confidence, sociability, perception, uh, intactogenesis of in genetic or sorry intactogenic effects. I'm not used to that. I seem to be an authoritarian. All right, you got it, buddy. I think people in power shouldn't do crimes. What an authoritarian I am. You got it. Yep. Correct. Increased empathy or feelings of closeness to. Oh, okay. Dilated pupils, realization, all these other things. This guy is losing his shit in chat. It's so funny. All right. After the experience, Brennan returned a form to the researchers and wrote, "This experience has helped me sort out a debilitating personal issue. Google my name. I know now what I need to do." Interesting. I wonder what this is about. Well, obviously we can't Google his name. We only know his first name, and I don't exactly want to like go looking too much into him. We can understand that this guy is a self-identified like he's a leader in a white nationalist movement. We know that's enough to know. Um, wow, this person's like really losing their shit. Oh, that's really funny. All right. Wow. There's a part of me that just wants to like just eat some popcorn, watch this guy lose his mind in chat. All right. The researchers looked up Brendan and discovered that he was. Oh, okay. They didn't know he was a white supremacist and a leader in a white nationalist organization. Okay, so this is for the. Okay, this is for the researchers. Uh, they discovered he was a white supremacist who had lost his job after being revealed as the leader of a white nationalist group. Brendan had attended the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in 2017. Yeah, like a lot of other white nationalist, white supremacist, Nazi types. But well, good to know we have that evidence there. Okay. Can we get rid of this very gross ad? It's like I'm keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye, and it's very disturbing. Could I just? Is there a way I can just get rid of this? Oh my god. Immediately, they were concerned as to what sorting out an issue might refer to, but when they tracked him down, Brendan revealed that what he needed to do was simply love as opposed to something more sinister. Well, I'm not going to make the claim that this is because of the MDMA, but I'm very glad that because of his experiences at the very least, there's one less white supremacist, white nationalist leader out there, and he's now opposed to that. It does imply a little bit that white supremacist types are desperately or like woefully loveless and without compassion. Dude, Patrick, you know what? Have fun. All right. Researchers are investigating how MDMA could be used to treat mental and physical illnesses. So MDMA is one of several psychoactive drugs that researchers are studying to assess whether they can be used to treat mental and physical illnesses. Insider has previously reported on its potential to treat anxiety disorders such as PTSD and alcoholism. Now, if a drug like this could be used to that effect, I have to assume there a lot of work would need to be done to minimize the potential downsides and side effects. I don't, as I understand, MDMA doesn't have tons of adverse effects. Ah, here's what we want. Yeah, okay, never mind. There are a lot of there are a decent number of adverse effects, and these are the kind of things that we want to minimize. But that's the same with every drug, obviously, right? Um, Dude, okay. The party drug, also referred to as Molly, known for causing feelings of empathy and sociability, as Harriet DeWitt, who led the research, told Newer, it's what everyone says about this damn drug. It makes people feel love. My understanding is this is a little bit of like, as I say, it's a result of like uh, all those chemicals getting released into your brain, but that doesn't make it any less authentic, right? That's something to keep in mind is while the cause might be artificial, it's not it's not like it's making you do something that is you're incapable of otherwise, is my understanding. She added that it's mind-boggling that the drug could potentially change someone's beliefs in the way that it is thought to have done with Brendan. This is something that people who are more well-read, but also like advocates for hallucinogenic for hallucinogens will talk about is that no, there's a pretty consistent history of people reporting changes in outlook, changes of mindset, deep experiences uh, after having taken hallucinogenic drugs. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not advocating that people do that. I'm simply noting that this is something that is actually pretty well documented. Uh, I'm wondering if this guy typing on my chat is even watching. He's just losing his mind. Like, it's completely disconnected to literally anything being discussed. Not just by me, but like, not just me right now, but me ever, or like even in relation to what he's previously saying. Like, ah, man, I really encourage anyone watching this back to just, I don't, just enjoy, enjoy the show. I'm confident he's not listening because he is just furiously typing and not, uh, realizing that I'm referring to him and talking to him and laughing at him. I'm guessing it's like paused or just like he's just losing his shit. But this is very funny to me. So I'm sorry that I keep distracting from this article, which is pretty interesting, honestly. But I can't help myself. This is just very funny. I'm not used to having people losing their shit in chat, and who boy, I'm not you. Like he's going off about Ukraine. Who's talking about? He has nothing to do with it. This is just like right wing screed. To the point where like, is this just like someone pretending to be a right wing screecher? I don't know. All right. However, MDMA doesn't have a political agenda and can't by itself solve racism. Well, I mean, obviously, yeah. It might. This finding, I wonder. I wonder if they'll go on to say. I wonder if it hints at um some psychological influences or maybe even uh, physiological like chemical influences that could be existent in more hateful people, more hateful groups. Like I wonder if this is anything like, oh, part of the problem is that they're just like they don't have enough happy chemicals or whatever. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how this works, but the authors of one journal article from 2021 argued that psychedelics could just amplify what is going on in that person's head. Well, it seems like that's not necessarily the case if this person changes their view, but like maybe I mean if there's additional evidence that's been like I mean obviously this is going to be more well researched than just like this little article I'm reading. So I wonder if these findings are in contradiction or if just this is an outlier. You know, that's something you have to keep in mind with scientific studies is that a lot of what happens in them is to mitigate the impact of outliers. You know, what if this is the only person for which it will have this impact? Well, that's why you have large sample sizes so that that one outlier doesn't seem like the totality of the effects. Now you'll see it in context of other people. So I mean, obviously, we don't have enough evidence for that. We don't have enough of an understanding yet as we read this. MDMA has, for instance, been used by the Taliban to channel connection to the divine during prayer chants, according to Newer. I did not know that. Well, I mean, but there is a lot of feeling people have with hallucinogens of connection to higher being, higher consciousness, um, so on and so forth. This guy's oh man, this is really funny. Like he's just nonstop posting. He's like really losing his shit. There's a part of me that's like, hey, do you want to come on? Do you want to talk? But I mean, I don't expect there to be any sort of reasonable conversation there. If you are watching, let me know if you want to talk. I'll deal with that for like 5 minutes if that seems fun. All right. Newer pointed out that uh, Brendan's seemingly spontaneous change appears to be an exception to the norm. MDMA releases the. Oh, you know what's probably happening? Sorry, I just realized. What's probably happening is he saw the stream title. He was probably like bouncing around, saw the stream title. It's also very possible that. My girlfriend also has a YouTube channel, and she, suggested to her followers to come maybe check out mine, and is aware that there's a decent amount of 4chaners that watch her. So probably one of them, you know, whack job like terminally online right wing crazy nut jobs was browsing around like taking a look. Oh, he's saying something bad about Trump. Let me lose my shit in his chat section. It's so funny because he's clearly not listening. Uh, he's clearly like either paused the stream or muted it or whatever and just wants to type. Um, uh, Yeah, like he's even talking about like how I claim to be anti-establishment. First of all, I haven't, but I'm not anti. I am anti-establishment in some ways. That doesn't mean that I'm like being anti-establishment doesn't mean like, oh yeah, therefore it's cool when people in power do crimes. I don't understand that connection. All right, Newer pointed out that Brendan's seemingly spontaneous change appears to be an exception to the norm. I'm going to try to ignore him from now on. MDMA releases the chemical oxytocin, which our bodies naturally produce. The chemical causes animals to fiercely love their own, but also protect them from others, which can mean disdain for outsiders. Which can mean disdain for outsiders may actually increase. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so oxytocin is the chemical. I couldn't remember which one it was. Which one I didn't mention it earlier when we were doing the highly technical paint stream just a few minutes ago. But yeah, so that's I guess it does get to it, but it figures it wants to do the sensational stuff before they get to how things work. Okay. Um, yeah, he clearly does. Okay. Brendan started therapy after taking MDMA, but in the case of Brendan, he had recently been exposed as a white supremacist and lost his job when he was enrolled in the study. He was full of regret about getting caught out. Okay, see, yeah, there you go. It might not have had anything to do with the MDMA. It might have just been, or it might have not have been so much a change exclusively here as much as what he was already thinking, amplifying what is already going on. The person said, as that article seems to suggest. Uh, but it's hard to say. 30 minutes after taking the MDMA pill, Brennan questioned, "Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I thinking this way?" That's really interesting. That's like that quick. And if this is like an actual maintained change, it's one of those like you don't know. Maybe after the effects wore off, he went back to how he was. I forget if the article mentioned that he had changed going forward, but if he had, like, that's pretty incredible that such a brief experience can have such a monumental effect on a person's life. Obviously, we know these things happen, especially with things like traumatic events or like big life moments, but that it can happen um, through chemical influence. That's pretty interesting. Um, he's just going off. It's really funny. He's posted like 30 times in the last 10 minutes. During his time on the drug, he realized his life was missing connection. The case suggests. See, but I wonder, he might have already been feeling this, but still, like, I mean, if this is goes back to what I was saying about this previously. I mean, if it brings about positive change, I don't really care. Uh, the case suggested that MDMA has the potential to influence a person's values and priorities. The authors wrote in a case study about Brendan. They hypothesized that if extremist views are fueled by fear, anger, and cognitive biases, they could be potentially treated with drugs. Um, okay, that's interesting. I guess it's like there's yeah, I mean, there's a foundation there to expect that. It's hard to tell how much of it is like, well, he was already thinking this or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And obviously, this is why you want additional study, and this is why their case study has it hypothesized something and didn't like state these things outright. This is what I love about science. Is like there's a lot of like trying to be very very honest about what you can actually claim, what you're actually witnessing, trying not to step outside of what is reasonable to assert. Since the study, Brendan is trying to make changes for the better. Oh, okay, so he is okay. This wasn't just under the influence. He once he left is now trying to make serious changes. He hired a diversity, equality, and inclusion consultant to help him enrolling in therapy and began meditating. That's really awesome. This is what I mean. So this comes up a lot on the left. I see it a lot, in particular online leftism. There's a lot of like resistance to the idea of rehabilitation, which is, I know, kind of a demeaning term. It goes back and forth. Some people are like, well, how could you ever take someone who's a leader in a white nationalist organization? How could they ever be an ally? How could they ever really change their ways? And it's a long shot, and most white nationalist, white supremacist types don't do what Brendan has done. That's it's pretty unlikely. But honestly, I want anyone who can be brought to trying to do good in the world to to be encouraged to do that. Like this is great. I love that he's like that, and I really hope that people don't like as he's trying to change his ways and make the world better. Like I really hope that he doesn't encounter people who will say like, "Oh, but you were a Nazi, so like, you suck forever now." There's just like it's this quasi essentialism the left still does. Like it's not exclusive to the right. Essentialism is everywhere and a problem. But this is why it's kind of important not to do that. Sometimes, yeah, there are people who are beyond reaching, or maybe at the very least beyond the initial ability to reach. But you can try with people, and you never know what's going to change. Sometimes they have to do some Molly, I guess. I'm not don't please don't take that as meaning that you should like dose Nazis with Molly. Don't do that. Don't drug people. That's bad. But what I am saying is, um, even someone who is a, remember a leader in a U.S. white nationalist movement, like obviously I don't know who this person is, um, to know like how accurate that description is. But if someone who is in a position like that can now be like hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, trying to fight against what he once was a huge proponent for. That's pretty cool, and I like that's the kind of thing we should encourage in the world. This is why I like to try with people. Why I'd like to make efforts with people who might like to varying degrees people will write off as just being like, all right, we're done here. Now obviously I'm not going to be like, all right, well, Jesse Lee Peterson, we can like convert that guy or whatever. I don't even like the phrase conversion, but the term conversion I should say. But um like really trying, I don't know, I think it's worthwhile. It's not the most important thing. Obviously the most important thing are the results of things like equality and people being able to live happy lives. Like this is more important. Part of what might be needed to get there is to convince people, which is why people do things like, well, like live streaming and video essays and so on and so forth. But you know, whatever gets people. I don't know. I don't know. I find this pretty moving. But we're almost done with the article. I stopped to blather on one paragraph from the end. There are moments when I have racist or anti-Semitic thoughts, definitely, he said. But now I can recognize that those kinds of thought patterns are harming me more than anyone else. So insightful. This is very very true. There's a lot of like cognitive damage that people do to themselves when thinking in these ways. You could see. You want evidence of that? Look at my chat right now. He's still typing. He's still typing. Uh. Uh. He bet he was a Fed. What? I did he start listening? Oh well, no, I didn't say anything about oppression. Uh, he probably just like took a glance at what's happening. I have no idea what's going on. But like, yeah, you want proof of like how the cognitive damage that can happen to you when you start thinking like a reactionary. Again, just look at my chat. This guy is off the rails, and it's interesting that it's noticeable to someone like him. I'm really glad that he had this kind of change. I wonder if we can like Um, well, one, thank you to my friend for who sent this to me. If you're watching, which I doubt you are, you know who you are. This was really interesting. I wonder if we could find out who this guy is. I don't want to like dox or whatever. There's a lot of articles about this. I don't think we're gonna get more out of this. Wonder if we can. I mean, we're probably not gonna know who this guy is. But yeah, oh my god. But yeah, this is really interesting, right? Like someone who was literally here at this rally where there were all these, well, this picture doesn't show them, but there were a lot of Nazis there and white supremacists, and like it was actively a white nationalist rally, white supremacist rally, and he gets turned around. I kind of wish I read this article. Seems like it's much more detailed, but I don't want to go over the same stuff again. It's really interesting to me that someone like that he can that he could make this kind of turnaround. I don't know how much that it has to do with MDMA. Obviously, the researchers are looking into that, but just let it. I really hope. Like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can stress this enough. I really hope people can look at that and realize that people can change. Not everybody, and not always, and maybe the things that a person will need to change is something that we'll know how to do, or like is necessarily accessible, or maybe there are people who are beyond who are beyond change. But even someone like this could be swayed out of their hatred, and I think that's really interesting and really important. Very glad that we found this article, or more accurately, that a friend of mine shared this article with me. It's very, very interesting. So I know this is a bit of a shorter one, but we're also towards the end of the week, and like I said, I got to make some iced tea for tomorrow. Uh, I've gotten personally a lot of enjoyment over this guy going nuts in my chat. I'm just gonna hold on one second. Like, look how he just keeps typing. He just keeps typing. He keeps going on, and I know he's not listening, so it's not like it's because he's getting responses. I'm not responding to most of these things either. He's not listening. He's just losing his shit. Um, I wonder if this is like I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be happening. Um, but oh boy, like this is what I like. Look, this is this is some serious cognitive damage from from 2:15 to 2:40, so about a half hour. He's just going nuts. Oh, he is listening. Oh, he's finally listening. He's been typing all this and been paying attention. Oh my god, you're this deranged while listening? Holy shit, my dude. All right. Well, that's enough attention given to this nut job. We'll we'll just wrap it up here. Thanks so much for the entertainment, Patrick. You are, and I mean this sincerely, absolutely deranged. Seek help. And everyone else, thanks so much for watching. I didn't even have any of my tea. I should drink some of my tea before I end here. Quite good. So, thanks so much for watching. I possibly won't be streaming on Monday. I'm sure Patrick is very, very sad to hear that. But otherwise, I will. TDS? What the hell is TDS? Otherwise, I will catch you all next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a good one. Bye then.